Good afternoon, everybody. Pigskin Pete here. Happy Friday to everybody. Happy beer stream to everybody. And dilly dilly and cheers and all of that. I apologize for anybody who cares. Normally I do these Friday night beer streams a little bit later, so like 7:30, 8:30 at night when more people can come on. But I've got something to do at that time, so I decided instead of just nixing the show altogether, that I'll come on and do it now. So I realize a lot of people are still probably on their way home from work. Everybody that did show up and will show up between now and the end of the stream, I really appreciate it. And there's a lot to talk about with college football. Before I do that, though, I want to take just 1 second. We'll get into the college football in a second. I want to take just 1 second to make a couple of channel announcements and thank a couple of people that I normally do not thank. And because I get caught up in these streams and videos every week, and a lot of times I forget to thank people, just take a second, all right? First of all, thank all the new subscribers that have come on the past couple of months during this offseason. It's been a grind during the offseason to try to put out quality content. And for all you people that have just come aboard, thank you. And the season's getting close, and I have multiple live streams, including a weekly live stream for a primetime college football game every single Saturday where I do a live play-by-play and reaction. And this year I will let the viewers weigh in on which games I'll be broadcasting. Now, a lot of that has to do with my schedule, so there's not a whole lot of wiggle room there, but I'll let people vote on which games I should be broadcasting on a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday night. Also, all my Patreon members, I forget to do this a lot. All right, there's 5 Patreon members that I have and have had and have stuck with me throughout the offseason, even though there's not a whole lot going on. That's Border Bob, Billy Dawson, Tiger Nation, Hound Dog, and see, I always forget the last one. Oh, Catfish from the Volunteer Roadshow. So thank you all. And I will be I'm putting together now an idea for things to do for the Patreon subscribers, because these people don't need to be donating to the channel, even though that's really what keeps the channel going. I don't expect anybody to donate with a super chat or Patreon, but the people that do that are what keep this going. And I am looking at getting a green screen and updating some equipment for this next college football season. And that really is where that money goes to that. So I could not do it without all of you. Catfish from the Volunteer Roadshow sponsors all of these call-in shows. He pays for the call-in studio for me to do this. I didn't ask him to do it. He offered it and insisted that he be the one that sponsors this show. So I can't thank him enough. And he is also the one, and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too early on this, but it looks like I'm going to have a sponsor, a commercial sponsor for the college football season. I won't announce what it is yet. I want to make sure it all goes through. But that is all because of Catfish. Catfish set it up for me and let them know about me. And that, all the credit goes to him for that. So thank you. And thank you all for showing up. Let me see who is in the chat here, and then we can start talking about some college football, and I'll take some calls. The live call-in number is 855-902-9368. Falcons Fury coming through with a $2 super chat. Get a ham sandwich with cheese. I'm going to get something to eat as soon as I get off of here. It's been a long day, man. I only worked for a couple hours this morning, but since then, I did a show on Mark Rogers. Then I had him on my show. So that was about 2 hours back-to-back of doing YouTube stuff. And, of course, now I'm here with you. So I'm starving. Let's see who's in the chat real quick, and then I'll get to the phone lines. Vodka drinker in the house. What's popping? Pete, what's popping with you? Hardwired to self-destruction. What about bowl smokers? To each his own, sir. I'm definitely not a hater. Slim Shady Canes is in the house. What's up, ladies and sirs? What's up with you? Bartholomew E-I-E-I-O. I laugh every time I see that name. Good morning, and good afternoon to you, sir. Little C7, good afternoon, Pete. Good afternoon to you, sir. George in the house. The General, what's up, Pete? Listening from Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is a great town. I love going and visiting there and looking at the monuments and looking at Capitol Hill and all that. But stay away from the politicians, sir. They're poisonous. Ramon Jordan in the house. What's good, Pete? What's up, Ramon Jordan? Billy Dawson. All right. Looks like that's everybody so far. So I will now check and see if anybody's calling. It says no host connection. What? I don't know what's up with this. Hold on. Let me try to fix this. I don't know why it's doing that. There it goes. All right, but it looks like nobody's calling in yet. Now, of course, like every other Friday beer stream, this show is a call-in show. It's driven by the callers. If nobody calls in, then we'll just answer questions from the chat. That is fine. I realize this is a bad time to be doing this. But media days this week, I'm going to be honest. I didn't really watch any of the Big Ten media days or the Big 12 media days or the Pac-12 media days. I watched a lot of the ACC and the SEC media days. Actually, the only thing I did see from the Big Ten media days is the shot that Jim Harbaugh took at Urban Meyer. Did anybody see that? He was asked the question about, his thoughts about Urban Meyer retiring. And he said, yeah, Urban Meyer, he sets a lot of records everywhere he goes, wins a lot of games, but he also is followed by controversy. I mean, just take the high road there, Jim. Jim. You'll go your whole entire career without beating Urban Meyer. Get over it. Probably still won't win the Big Ten, as a matter of fact. It is what it is. I got a caller here on the line. Go ahead and pick that up. Good afternoon. You're on with Pete.
Pete, what's going on, man?
What's up? Ramon Jordan. I know that voice by now.
Oh, yeah, man. What's happening with you?
Yeah, I'm amazing and fantastic. How you doing, though?
Oh, man. Well, you know what I told you, man, about, how, once we start winding down, deep into the off season, and it's, almost there where I start getting, real arrogant, and that true F the Gators, mentality start coming out, man. I'm really about to tweak on these. I'm ready to tweak on these guys, man. I'm really ready to tweak on these guys. They talking crazy, They keep acting like they used to beating us, like it's normal to them, man. They would love to scrub out all the bad memories, man. They would love to get every bit of Colgate and Listerine and Tic Tacs out of Walmart to get this bad taste of our foot being down their throat for years. But man, it's coming, man. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah, man. I was watching. I was watching Alonzo's video that he posted today. First of all, I'm glad to see Alonzo's back on the air. Alonzo, if you're watching this, man, I'll holler back, man. I've been trying to holler at him for the past couple of weeks. He ain't hollering back. I don't know what's up with that. But yeah, so he was complaining about Miami not being ranked right in the preseason rankings, which we all know the preseason rankings don't mean nothing. But Florida, where do they rank? They're ranked in the top 10, ain't they?
I think most people have them hovering between 7 and 9.
But based off of what?
Hey, based off of all those SEC West championships that Dan Mullen never won. I mean. Yeah,
I don't know, man.
You hey, nobody finishes in third place better than Dan Mullen. I mean, he did it again his first year on the East. I mean, so
look,
hey, the guy is.
Yeah, I'm not hating on Florida because I do think they have a lot of talent on their team. But what was their record last year? How many games? They lost 4 games? What was it?
No, they lost 3. They lost 3.
All right, they lost 3. That's not bad.
Yeah.
But Florida fans, not all Florida fans. I know I got a lot of you on here going to tell me that you don't feel this way, but a lot of Florida fans, man, they feel like they're going to all of a sudden just start winning the East and winning the SEC, which is something they haven't done since Urban Meyer was there. So I don't know where they're getting that from. Yeah, they made it to the SEC championship a couple times and got blown out by the team in the West, but they haven't won the SEC in a decade or so. So I don't, we'll see. But I'm with you. I think that Miami has a reason to show up on week 1 and put it to Florida, and I hope that they do. I really do. As an ACC fan, I hope that Miami shows up and puts it to them. But I think it'll be a close game, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and once again, all honesty, I won't be surprised with whatever outcome. But it's just crazy to see the lack of rationale that they display on a constant basis, man. But it is what it is. So you still stand by your word that you expect your boys to lose at least one game this year?
Well, I mean, listen, if you look at their schedule, you probably say that they shouldn't lose a game, right? But, I mean, listen, Texas A&M is not – I mean, they're a good team. They could beat anybody. Of course they can, especially
Jimbo had them boys humming. That's regardless.
Yeah, especially week 2. I mean, Clemson does have inexperience on the defensive line, and that will be a test for them. And Jimbo Fisher, listen, here's the biggest X factor, because if Jimbo Fisher wasn't the head coach at Texas A&M, then I'd say Clemson to blow him out. But Jimbo Fisher knows Clemson and Dabo Swinney and the entire coaching staff and the schemes they run. He knows Clemson better than anybody. He knows Clemson better than Alabama does. He's played them, I don't know, 10 years in a row or something. So he knows what to expect.
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
Yeah. So I don't take Texas A&M lightly at all. And if we do win Texas A&M, which I think we will, but if we do, whether it's Syracuse or somebody else. I mean, it could be anybody else in the Atlantic Division that we play. Listen, there's always a chance that you could lose. This is not Pee-wee football. This is big boy football. As much as people like to pretend as if the ACC or the Pac-12 or some of the lower tier conferences don't have big boy football players and big boy football coaches, they're lying to themselves. You can lose to anybody on any given day. So I never go into the season thinking that we're going to go undefeated. I'm always looking for at least one loss, period.
And on top of that, like the ACC Atlantic, with the exception of Scott Satterfield at Louisville, they got a lot more continuity as far as coaches. So the familiarity with guys, knowing Dabo over there is a lot stronger on that side of that side of the conference. Obviously, Dino thinks this is the best team that he's had since he's been at Syracuse. You got a couple other teams on there. They trying to get situated. So, that's one thing got taken place.
Yeah, I think the only real competition for Miami in the Coastal Division is going to be Virginia Tech, because Virginia Tech has the roster to compete with Miami, but they've had the roster to compete with Miami for the past few years and haven't done it. So I don't know what that's. They could. It wouldn't shock me if they won 6 games. It wouldn't shock me if they won 10. Virginia Tech is a very big unknown. But outside of Virginia Tech, I mean, who else in the Coastal really can go toe-to-toe for an entire season with Miami? I mean, North Carolina is not in the position to do that yet for the entire season. And that's it. I mean, who else can?
I mean, honestly, I'm not going to lie. Like, from a toughness standpoint, I really respect the way that Pat Narduzzi does his thing over there with Pitt. I mean, I know they still got to get some more. They got to get some more playmakers. I mean, they play hard-nosed football. I mean, he was his mentor was Mike D'Antonio over there at Michigan State. So he gonna bring that hard-nosed trench bully football. But they still got to get some guys who can make plays on the outside and put pressure on the defense. But they starting to get some receivers and things like that. I still don't know about the quarterback situation. That's front line with any team in America. You got to have that situation squared away.
No, I agree that Pitt is a lot like Boston College, from the from the Atlantic Division. They're a team that is mediocre or mid-range as far as the ACC goes, as far as talent, but they have really good coaching and they will beat you up. They will out-scheme you. So yeah, Pat Narduzzi is a good coach, but I'm not talking about a one-game scenario. Whether Pitt and Miami, who would win that game head-to-head. I mean, I think Miami's a better team, but if Pitt won that game, it wouldn't surprise me. But I'm talking about the entire season, the conference record at the end of the season. I just don't see anybody really other than Virginia Tech that should have a chance to challenge Miami as far as the entire season goes.
Yeah, one more guy. I know we talked about him a couple of times at length, but I think as far as the new blood in the ACC and in college football in general, I think two of the people most excited about is my guy Manny and Jeff Collins. Both those guys, they're high energy guys, bring a lot of juice. It's a lot of people in Atlanta excited about Jeff Collins right now. A lot of people. He definitely talked the talk. I mean, I'm not as familiar with him, because he had an SEC background prior to being at Temple. So, but they like him a lot over there.
Oh, he's the real deal. Jeff Collins is the real deal. He'll get things turned around. He's going to have a hard time this year, though. He just doesn't have the players to do it. But, man, I had a rude awakening because, even as a Clemson fan living in the South, we play Georgia Tech every year.
Well, not to cut you off.
Yeah.
Not to cut you off, but I just want to congratulate you on having the first, speaking of Jeff Collins and Georgia Tech, I want to congratulate y'all on having the first ever game on the ACC network.
Yeah, and I got to call my cable provider because I don't know if I'm going to get that game on TV. I mean, that'd be I don't know what I'm going to have to do if they don't carry it on my TV. I mean, because I'm planning on streaming that game, But,
of course, naturally.
But, yeah, my introduction to the Georgia Tech fans, because even growing up a Clemson fan and playing them every year, even though they call it a cross-division rival, it's not really a rival. Yeah, they beat us, a few times here and there, but that's no rival. Clemson's owned Georgia Tech ever since Paul Johnson's been there. But I made a couple of videos last year saying that Paul Johnson needs to go. This is before he retired. And pointing out the reasons why.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was controversial. I think that was just common knowledge that running the triple option in 2018 is a joke. There's no other team in the Power 5 that was doing it. And they all came down on me. Oh, he's a great coach. Oh, nobody can stop the triple option. They scored 66 points on so-and-so this year, blah, 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 blah. And as soon as he got fired and Jeff Collins got hired, the same ones that was telling me I was crazy for talking bad about Paul Johnson was coming on and saying, "Oh, this is a great hire. We're gonna be competing with Clemson now." I mean, these people, I don't know what they're smoking, but I need some of it.
And one more thing about Paul Johnson, real fast before I let you go, Pete. I know you got other callers coming in by now, I'm sure. The thing about Paul Johnson that I realized over the time, he must not have been a great talent evaluator. You know what I mean? Because, he had less and less guys, I felt like, going in the top rounds of the draft. When he first got there, he had guys like Derek Morgan and Morgan Burnett and guys like that. He inherited guys like Jonathan Dwyer and stuff like that. And I mean, it seemed like over the years, this scheme really took a hit, when he had, less well-known guys and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. But listen, here's the thing. With Georgia Tech, they will be good. I have high expectations for all these new coaches in the ACC. But at the end of the day, Georgia Tech has a similar problem that South Carolina does, is that they don't really have the same football tradition as a Georgia or a Clemson, that's who they're competing with in recruiting. That's who's in their region. And so
right,
they're always going to lose that battle for the very top guys, most of the top guys, to Georgia and Clemson. Both, and so, they might be relevant, and they might give, some improvement and give some of these teams in the Atlantic hell in the next couple of years. But Georgia Tech, I still don't think, even with Jeff Collins, they're ever going to be a powerhouse.
Right. All right, so excluding my guy, I know I've been saying I'm going to let you go, but it's the last time I say it. Excluding my guy, Manny, which of the other three you probably excited about the most? I mean, I know you said you think Mac would do okay, but not great. So between Mac, Satterfield, and Collins, who you like the most?
I like Satterfield, but Satterfield has the biggest hill to climb. Well, I don't know. I guess you could say Jeff Collins has a big hill to climb too, but at least Jeff Collins is in the hotbed of recruiting in Atlanta, Georgia. So he's got a little bit of an edge there.
Right.
Louisville is, Petrino left Louisville in an absolute dumpster fire. And he really ruined that program and ruined their reputation, which I don't really know why anybody's surprised about that. He did the same thing at Arkansas. I don't know why anybody trusted this guy.
Oh, yeah.
But I like Satterfield. I think he's the perfect guy for the job.
All right, man. Well, Pete, man, I'll turn into the show, man. Great talking to you as always, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you calling in, brother.
All right, man.
All right, there you guys have it. Ramon Jordan, a resident Miami fan that calls in all the time. And I can see as the weeks go on and we get closer and closer to kickoff, he's starting to do the trash talking a little bit more. I'm going to try to keep egging him on. And I know that that week or two before the game actually happens, he's gonna call in and be on fire, and I can't wait for it. Thank you, Dondre Crawford, the $1.99 super chat said, what's good, Pete? Thank you, sir. You're amazing and fantastic. Let me see if anybody else is on the line here. And thank you for anybody who's just now joining the stream. I appreciate it. And it looks like I got a caller on the line. I'll go ahead and pick that up. Good afternoon. You're on with Pete. Yo.
Pete, it's DeAndre.
What's up, man?
Hello. What's up, man? How you doing today?
I'm doing.
Sometimes I can't tell if you're talking to me or you have somebody else on the line already.
Yeah, that's all right. I got another Hurricanes guy on the line, but if he just holds on, I'll get him in a second. So, how can I help you, sir?
Oh, no, man, just going to say what's up. I heard about the Paul Fall rate, and I agree with you. He just be trolling people, getting people upset before we can hear, before people go follow his show. But the most part, the kid from Georgia, the linebacker, let me put it like this to you. I'll tell Martin Rogers this. If you look at the ACC, I just talk about from the academic standpoint. You got Georgia Tech, which is a hard academic school. You got Duke, UVA, Boston College, and Wake Forest. Those are 5 academic schools. So if all of them got 12 teams in it, which I believe, or they got 14 schools. Only school that's on that level of academics, from my knowledge, is probably Vanderbilt. So it's probably pretty hard to get those guys into school. I'm talking about they have real strict academic standards. I'm not saying Alabama full of a bunch of idiots, or Auburn, or I know Auburn's a very good engineering school. I had a cousin graduate from there, or LSU. But are they on those top 5 levels like Vanderbilt is? Vanderbilt and Duke is probably equal. So I think it's hard to get a lot of – if you have 88 people on the football team, or I think, 120 now, it's probably pretty hard to find 88 people that can meet the academic standards and that are good athletes to get those people in there. They might have a few, but it's probably pretty hard. So I'm not saying the football players are dumb in the SEC, but people got to take that in for consideration too. I mean, that's why the Pac-10 would never take Boise State, which I would think would probably be a really good fit because of their academics, they're not going to take them. So there's other factors that you got to look at too. And another fact that I just thought about, most of the ACC schools, not a lot of them, like Miami, Boston College, Georgia Tech, they're by major cities. So it's hard for those schools to grow their football stadium or their facilities and stuff like that because they're inside of a city. I don't think that's stuff that people look at, and the advantages that the SEC schools might have over the ACC schools that nobody talks about.
All right, listen, I'll agree with you on the city thing. I think that is a disadvantage, but I'll disagree with you about the academic thing because how come nobody talks about the academic standards when it comes to other sports like basketball, right? I mean, are you telling me that Kyrie Irving and all these other players that play for Duke are Mensa students? They're Einstein. Kyrie Irving thinks the Earth is flat. I mean, are you telling me this guy is actually that smart?
Yeah, that's why you might have been saying that to troll him. I agree, but remember at one point, I think it was kind of hard to get into Duke. It seems like they changed their standards in basketball somehow. I agree with you. I've been wondering that for the last couple of years. But remember, you only need 2 or 3 players to be good at basketball. If you don't have an offensive line, the defensive line, you ain't gonna be good at football, and you don't have the depth. I mean, it's very hard.
Look, I'm gonna expose the secret right now. I'm gonna expose the secret right now. For anybody who didn't know, any university, I don't care if you're Duke, Stanford, Northwestern, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, Pitt, Virginia, they will all make exceptions in academic standards for elite players. So that whole academic thing means nothing to me. It's nothing but an excuse for losing teams, in my opinion.
Well, now, if you look at Stanford, somehow Stanford has been good, pretty good year. But you telling me that they had the same skilled players as Clemson? And you got to remember, my family graduated. I had 2 family members graduate from Clemson. I went to East Carolina. I'm not saying that we're dumb, but I'm just saying the academic standards, are they the same? Are they equally the same? Even Rosa made the comment about Deshaun Watson graduating, and what's it called, communications. A lot of Clemson players are going into that field. Not saying that it's easy or they're cheating, but maybe their standards are not the same at UCLA compared to Clemson.
No, listen.
I think Clemson's still a public school.
If you're number one recruit in the country, let's say you're Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence or Tua or any of these guys, they could go to Duke. They could go to any of these schools without a problem.
I totally agree with you. But you have a mass of them at Clemson compared to Stanford. I mean, Andrew Luck, I think he was considered Rice at one point. He wasn't even talking about going. I think Stanford, Northwestern, and Rice was his top 3.
Yeah.
Because they had a program that nobody else had. I'm not saying that these players are stupid, but I'm just saying the academic standards might be a little bit different at some of these schools. Maybe they can't compile all the athletes that they have.
You know,
I'm just saying. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Hey, listen, Dondre, I got the calls piling up here, and I'm on a time limit, so I'm gonna have to let you go. But thanks for calling.
Yeah,
in.
man. Hey, man. Have a good day, Pete.
Thank you, man.
I've been listening.
All right, I'm gonna pick up this call. Hey, the 901 number that's on line for 5 minutes. Just hold on, I'll get you in just a second. Don't hang up. I see it's a Hurricanes fan. Good afternoon, you're on Pete.
Hey, Pete, what's up?
What's up? Who am I talking to?
Oh, come on, you know who this is.
Is this Falcons Fury?
Yes, sir.
What's up, man? I took a shot in the dark there. What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm amazing and fantastic. Thanks for asking.
Well, why are you telling me stuff I already know? Hey, listen, I want to talk about the Miami fan. What was his name that was on before me or 2 calls ago?
Ramon Jordan.
Ramon Jordan. All right, great. He's also great, fantastic. But help me understand this, because you know more about Miami than I do, being in the ACC. Why are Miami fans so confident right now?
Well, probably because in the past 30 years, you guys have only beat them like twice. So that's probably why.
No, but how's that? I understand that, but how does that help them in like a little over a month when they play us?
Well,
How's that?
Well, it doesn't. It doesn't. And listen, I even think that Ramon Jordan and the other Miami fans that I've talked to on my show anyway, I don't think that they really believe that they're going to go in there and just blow Florida out. I don't believe that either. I think it's going to be a really close game. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that's just the normal, the normal trash talking. I mean, why would they not be confident, right? I mean, what are they supposed to say? We're going to go out there and get blown out by Florida?
I mean, fair enough. Because I get the same sort of deal from Georgia fans. It's like, man, just give up, shut up. And it's like, what are you talking about? I mean, like, give up. But my thing is this: so I don't think they've named a quarterback yet. So they're having a quarterback battle still. They have a new coach, which is a defensive-minded coach. So that I think they'll be good on the defensive side from day one. But as far as the offense, that's a big question. Then you have on Florida's side a lot of returning talent on the offense, and same thing on the defense. So I just don't understand why honestly, I don't think it's going to be close. I think in the first half it'll probably be like maybe a 1-score game, but I think we'll pull away in the second half.
Here's the story of this game as far as I see it right now. I think it's going to be, how does Florida's offense and Felipe Franks stand up against Miami's front seven? Because that's really Miami's strongest point of their entire team. It has been for the past few years, and it will be this year, is their defensive line and their linebackers. So that's going to be the story of the game. Now, as far as Miami's offense goes, it's an unknown. Like you said, we don't even know who the quarterback's going to be. And I wouldn't be surprised if you saw both quarterbacks play in that game, depending on how it goes. So, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. Yeah, and to be fair, Miami's biggest strength is going up against our biggest unknown, which could be a weakness. We don't really know how good the offensive line is going to be. We only have 2 guys returning, so yeah, I could see that happening for sure.
I could see that being a shootout. I really could.
I don't know about a shootout. I'd call a defensive, struggle before I'd call it a shootout, because I like both defenses.
Well, here's the thing. These first games of the year, they're almost like bowl games where the coaches, because there's no tape, for the new players for the other coaches to study. So in the bowl games, they pull out all the stops and they do trick plays and they do all kinds of new stuff that they just conjured up during the offseason. So I think that the first game of the year is probably more likely to be higher scoring than you think. But we'll see. I don't know. Listen, man, that game is so hard to figure out. I wouldn't put money on it.
Oh, yeah, no, me either. One interesting thing, like, what do you think? Because, Manny Diaz was Dan Mullen's defensive coordinator for a good couple of years. Do you think that comes into play at all? I mean, but it could go vice versa. He knows Dan's offense, and Dan knows his defense a little bit as well.
Yeah, I'd call it a wash because they both know each other's style of play. So I don't think that really makes a difference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it comes down to that, I'm leaning towards the offensive guy because, how can I explain it? I'll go with the guy that has the gun, rather than the guy that doesn't. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, man, I got a guy that's been holding for 10 minutes, so I'm gonna have to let you go. But I really appreciate you calling.
Oh
in.
Yeah, sure.
All right, man.
All right, see ya.
All right. Excuse me. Good afternoon. You're on Pete.
Pete, how are you doing, sir?
How you doing?
This Slim Shady Canes. How are you, sir?
Hey, man. First time caller. I appreciate it, man. How you doing?
Yes, sir.
What you got for me, man?
I'm doing great. Lou put me on your show. I figured I'd check it out, and a lot more Miami talk going on over here than what I thought there'd be.
Hey, listen, I don't know. You're new here, so you don't know this. But I got my jump start on YouTube because of Miami. I mean,
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was during the middle of the season. It was October of 2017 when I started making videos. And, 2017 is when Miami was, winning all them games. And it was in the middle of the season. And I was doing a lot of predictions for Miami videos. And I did a prediction video one day that really pissed the Miami fans off. And I woke up the next morning after only having, like 10 subscribers, and I had like 3,000 views, and Miami fans hated me, but they all subscribed to me, and at least half of them have stuck around. So I thank Miami for that.
Well, to answer the last caller's question, the reason me and several other Miami fans are very confident about this game, you touched on some of it. They're returning a top 5 defense. I don't think there's any question Miami's going to be good on the defensive side of the ball. And as far as you were talking about the front 7 being the strength, I don't think even that's the strength of the defense because they had the number 1 pass defense in the country last year.
Right.
So that's going to be a secondary that's going to love to pick off Felipe Franks if he throws the ball in a hurry.
Yeah.
As far as offensively, I think they really caught a bad rap because. And people say it's an excuse, but Mark Richt was using the same offensive playbook he used when he was the coordinator at Florida State. And that's not going to work in football anymore.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, Manny Diaz has an edge about him that Mark Richt just did not have. Mark Richt was good at, getting probably, solid people into the program who weren't going to be a distraction. But when it comes to the on-the-field play calling and the preparation for the game, he just doesn't have it. And we saw that with Georgia, even though he had some success at Georgia, but we saw that at Miami too. Miami is a school that has a personality that fits Manny Diaz, a fiery personality, a take-no-prisoners type of mentality, and I think he will be much, much more aggressive on offense than, even though he's a defensive guy, I think that he'll make sure that Miami is much, much more aggressive on offense than they were before.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And a lot of that comes from the fact that, as they like to say about Dan Mullen, Manny's from Miami.
Yeah.
So he's a Miami guy.
Right.
But as far as their offense goes, I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as – there's a lot more talent on that offense than what you saw on the field last year. A lot to do with Mark Richt's play calling and a lot to do with Mark Richt's inconsistency with trying to pick a quarterback.
Yeah.
Because I talked about this on Lou's show. I mean, between Perry and Rozier, they split half the season, and in one game, he swapped both of them out like 4 times in a game. I want to say it was Boston College or something like that. And I get into it with a lot of Miami fans about this. They complained about Perry's inaccuracy, and the reason I think he's going to be the starter is because when you swap out quarterbacks like that, neither one can get consistent. And then if you take to use the Pitt game as an example, Perry finished that game I think 5 of 18. But what is not in the stat line is there were 10 drop passes in that game.
Yeah, listen, I couldn't agree with you more about the swapping of the quarterbacks and this 2-quarterback system during the first few weeks, and we'll see who beats who out. Clemson tried that crap last year, and they got away with it, but it almost cost them a game at Texas A&M doing that. And I said it from the beginning, I do not like this. Name a starter and stick with them at least till they lose a game or two. But playing 2 players every game throughout the first 3 or 4 games of the season, you're going to catch a loss. They can't get into rhythm. I never liked the 2-quarterback system. So let me ask you this. Do you think that there's a chance that Manny Diaz will allow that to happen, or do you think he'll pick a starter and stick with them until, the wheels fall off, or not?
I think he'll pick a starter unless they start off 0-2. I mean, especially I think I can see them, forgiving a loss to Florida, especially if it's close. Because that's been my big gripe with Florida fans. They're predicting this, 42-7 blowout. Neither team was going to blow the other out.
No, I don't think so.
My prediction has been 21-17 going either way.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. But you don't see a scenario where Perry comes in for the first series and then they bring in Tate Martell for the second series and back and forth like Clemson did last year with Lawrence and Bryant?
No, what I see happening, I think Perry will be the starter, but I think they will have special packages just for Tate Martell and put him in certain situations, kind of like Florida did with Tebow his freshman year when Chris Leak was the starter.
Gotcha. Well, I hope for
and that can work.
I hope for your sake that that's true, because I think there's a lot of a pressure if Perry goes in there, even if they aren't losing the game or they're not losing bad in the first half. Let's say Perry comes out in the first series or 2, throws an interception. There's going to be a lot of pressure from the fans and on Manny Diaz as a new head coach to let's see what Tate Martell's got. And then they get stuck in this situation where they're just going back and forth. And that's always a recipe for disaster as far as I can tell.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of hoping Manny's smart enough to know, he's a defensive coach. Let the offensive coordinator handle the offense.
Right. Yeah.
You see that a lot of times. Just, head coaches will try and get in the middle of their offense, especially if they're a defensive coach. And I mean, not to take anything away from anybody, but you're a defensive coach. Stick to what you know. Let the offensive coordinator run the offense. Leave it be.
Absolutely. And if you look at the best teams in the country right now, Alabama and Clemson, I mean, Dabo Swinney's an offensive guy. He leaves the defense to Brent Venables. That's his thing. And same thing with Nick Saban. He's a defensive guy. He leaves the offense to whoever the offensive coordinator is that year. It's been a different one every year. But that is the recipe to success, is to stick to what you do and hire good people and let them do their job.
Yeah, and I mean, there are a bunch of Miami fans talking about Miami's going, 12-0, 11-1. Me personally, I don't see it. I mean, I could be wrong. I think they have a chance to win this Florida game, but I mean, I've said it from the beginning. They could very well lose it. I mean, Vegas hasn't picked to lose for a reason.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be just mad if they did. I mean, they're expected to lose. What I'm looking for out of them is win the game you're supposed to win.
Yeah.
Win the Coastal.
And I'll leave you with this before I get off and take this other call. Miami's in a particular situation where they can afford to lose to Florida, even if it is, by 3 touchdowns, which I don't think it will be. But even if they do, their biggest goal right now is to win the Coastal and make it to Charlotte to play most likely Clemson. And if they do that, then that is that's a good sign, And let's say they go 10-2 and beat Clemson in the ACC championship, then they will be considered for the playoff. They probably won't get in with 2 losses in the ACC, but it is still a possibility.
Yeah, and I'll say this before I get off. To me, Miami's goal should be the exact same as they were last year. Win the Coastal. I want to see, at the very least, a competitive game against Clemson, not like it was in 2017, and go out and win your bowl game.
There you go. Yeah, that's the key. Winning
that's a successful year.
Yeah. I mean, losing your bowl game the past couple of years had to hurt. So I agree. Winning your bowl game is big, and winning your division. So I'm with you.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Thanks for calling in. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good one.
All right. There you guys have Slim Shady Canes, first-time caller. But good afternoon. You're on with Pete.
Hey, Pete. How you doing? It's Michael Lynch.
Hey, what's up, Michael Lynch? How you doing, sir?
Hey, this is the first time I'm calling. I've been watching you for a long time.
Well, listen, I'm glad you called in, and you should call in more.
Yeah, it's funny. Always on a Friday, I try to listen to the call, but I'm always doing something. Can't always call in. But usually watch it on the back end when you upload it.
Well, I appreciate that. So what you got for me today?
Hey, so I'm a Clemson fan. Just had a quick kind of a funny question about interesting fans. So I live in Atlanta, Georgia. Born and raised in, Pottersville, Piedmont, South Carolina. So right around the corner from Clemson. But I live down here now, and the first time I realized this about Alabama fans was right after the 2016 National Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting in an IHOP, and this guy on the other side of the IHOP starts waving his hands back and forth, and he gets my attention. I look over at him, and he picks his shirt up that has the Alabama logo on it, and he's like, "Roll Tide," as he gets up and walks by me. And I'm like, what the heck, dude? You just lost your national championship game. Why are you doing that? And then this year, I had another one. I've had this happen 3 or 4 times over the course of the last couple of years. I had a guy drive up next to me on the highway honking his horn at me because I had a Clemson ball on the back of my truck. I look over, and he's got his Alabama hat, and he's, like, shaking it at me, pointing at his Alabama logo right after the loss of the Alabama game. I'm like, I haven't had Gamecock fans do that. I haven't had Georgia fans do that. And, like, what have you ever experienced that, and what's the mentality there?
Yeah, I've experienced that. I mostly with South Carolina fans. Listen, where I live, because I live in South Carolina, and I can't go anywhere because I'm always wearing either a Clemson shirt or a Clemson hat or something. I can't go to the grocery store. I can't go to a restaurant. The other day, yesterday, I took my mom to a doctor's appointment like 30 minutes away from where she lives, and I went into the receptionist, and she's like talking about my Clemson hat. She was a South Carolina fan, so I get that all the time with South Carolina fans. I have never had an Alabama fan do that, but I always take the high road in public with people because I've had a couple of run-ins where I, try to get in trash talking back with them, and it almost ends up, with the police being called, not on my end, but on their end. So I just try to stay away from it. I do all my trash talking on YouTube.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, so I don't know what the deal is, especially after a loss, and why you would do that. And I'm a big dude. I'm 6'5", 280 pounds. So, like, to have somebody, like, start that with me is kind of weird to begin with. So, I mean, I just had never heard. I've asked a couple other people about it, and they've never even experienced it. So, it's funny. I guess it depends upon your geographic location. I guess since down here in Atlanta, I'm a little closer to Alabama.
Yeah,
But
next time
it is pretty funny.
Next time an Alabama fan gives you hell, just say, "Hey man, can I borrow $44.16? I'll pay you back on Monday."
Yeah, I'll have to do that one.
Yeah, man.
Well, cool, man. I just want to call, say hey.
Well, I appreciate it, man. And don't be a stranger. Call back in when we get closer to the season.
I will do. Thank you.
All right, man. And I got, let's see here. I don't know who this is. We'll see who it is. Good afternoon. You're on with Pete.
What's up, Pete? Lane Tech fan here.
Hey, what's up? My favorite Tech fan.
You had a good day?
Hey, I'm amazing and fantastic. Thanks for asking. How about you, though?
Yeah, could be better. Two things that I always try, whenever I call in, if I don't talk about Tech, I'll talk about something else. But I actually want to focus on two things about Tech today. One, being what you and Slim Shade Canes was talking about, that I didn't think quite well for the fact with the whole new offense the fact that we don't really have a solidified starting quarterback. I didn't really think about that during the spring game or during the off season at all, but now that question does present itself. I'm not exactly sure what we plan on doing about that.
Well, so who's projected to be the starter?
Who's predicted is Lucas Johnson.
Okay. Now I know that Jeff Collins came in at the end of the season, and the recruiting was pretty much done by then. But was there anybody that was a late signee or a transfer or something that wasn't recruited by Paul Johnson to run the triple option? Do you have somebody that's not a triple option guy as far as quarterback on the roster this year that you know of?
Understand.
Who?
You have to understand though. I understand what you're saying is they were recruited to play the triple option. But what some people don't understand, I'm not saying you're wrong, but they never, they were supposed to morph into the triple option, if you understand. They never played it in high school. They played spread pro-style offenses in high school, but then we're going to be morphed into a triple option type of quarterback.
No, I understand that part of it. But even if they played, a traditional or a spread style offense in high school, the reason that Paul Johnson recruited them to Georgia Tech to begin with was because they were going to be a good fit for a triple option. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the quarterback can't pass the ball, but it pretty much does mean that that's not their forte. He's looking for runners, and that's really what the triple option. That's what the triple option is based off of. So it's not a stretch to think that.
No, I mean, you're right, but they can throw better than people expected from what I've seen. But that's really just a side conversation because I don't really know. There's one guy I'm particularly hoping that James Graham, the guy who was recruited out of Fitzgerald last year, I hope he starts because he has a good frame and he never really went under the offense last year. He really just wasn't even going to be playing it. Go to this type of offense that he's normally fit and used to helps him.
Yeah.
But the second thing I wanted to talk about is how I believe we have probably the best strength coach I think we've ever had. Because if you know as well as I do, Paul Johnson just recruited these 6'3", 6'2" linemen who were 290, but they were able to cut block and move fast.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's what I'll say, but I don't know about strength coach, but I'll leave you with this. I'm gonna have to get off after I make this statement because I got one more call before I get off, and I'm running low on time. But I do want to say this. You call in every week, and I give you hell, and even some of the other callers that call in after you give you hell. And but I will say this. I'm going to say something positive about Georgia Tech, and I'm not even making a joke right now. I'm being serious. The most positive aspect that Georgia Tech has to look forward to this year is that I think that you will have a solid offensive line because Paul Johnson, for all of his faults, has been doing really well at getting really good offensive linemen in there because that is also very important to the triple option. So the basis of a solid offense, whether you're running the triple option or the spread or a pro style, is the protection for the quarterback. So that is something that you have to look forward to. That is a positive that you have to look forward to.
And with hiring an offensive line coach from Alabama, that just helps even more.
Well, there you go. You said it best, my friend. Thank you.
Hey, but thank you, Pete. That made me feel a little bit better. Even though y'all give me hell, I'm not mad at it.
I know. Listen, I appreciate you calling in. You're a good sport.
Thank you. Have a good day, Pete.
All right, man. All right, this will be the last call I'm taking. Good afternoon. You're on with Pete.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've been a Carolina Panthers fan for a long time.
Okay.
I really appreciate you taking my call. But I just want to disagree with some of the things the last guy had said. I think my cock is really bigger than his.
Listen. I'm going to give you an opportunity to make a real phone call out of this. That's a funny joke and everything, but is that what you called to say?
Ah!
Let's see who's in chat here. I just lost about 10 brain cells with that. You know, that, listen, that guy waited online for almost 10 minutes to do that. There's no way that he's married or getting laid anytime in the next decade. All right, let me see who's in the chat here. I'll answer questions in the chat for another couple of minutes before I get off. And again, I really appreciate everybody who's stopping in on this early stream tonight when I normally do it later. You're all amazing and fantastic. Thank you to all the callers that called in with actual points, unlike the last guy, and some intellectual conversation, which is hard to come by these days, apparently. I see Nola's in here and Nona Beast, two of my favorite haters. Welcome, both of you. Tiger Cat is in the house. Dennis Wilson, you know, Dennis Wilson, you better be glad you showed up today, because you haven't showed up in about 6 weeks, and I was really close to taking your mod away. Not that you care, you probably don't care, but let's be real here. I was the first one to give Dennis Wilson mod status, because he's just a troll, but he's one of my favorite trolls. But welcome back. Slim Shady Kane's coming through with a $5 super chat. Why is the wave banned in the swamp? Florida fans drowned last year. It is getting close. It's getting real close to college football season because the trash talking is getting much better. The past 2 months have been just so terrible with the trash talking, but now it's really starting to come out. I love it. Nona B says, just gain 10 brain cells. Well, that's not hard for you when you're starting at 0. Pete, have you heard anything on Miles Murphy decommitting? No, I haven't. But I'm assuming you have, otherwise you wouldn't be asking that question. So I'll take your word for it. Nona B says Florida is not good at football. Yeah, okay. I mean, it's only the best recruiting state in the country. So that's false. Nona B says, hey, Pigskin, do you know where I can find some Osterine? Yeah, let me, I got Dabo on speed dial. I'll call him, and I'll text him your number. I'm sure he can hook you up pretty quick and cheap, too. All right, guys. This stream is taking a turn for the worse, and that's my fault, not yours. But you're all great. Thanks to Falcons Fury, Dondre Crawford, Slim Shady Canes for the super chats. I really appreciate it. Also, thank you to all the callers. Thank you to all of the Patreon members. Thank you to Catfish and the Volunteer Roadshow for sponsoring this. Thank you to Mark Rogers. For anybody who did not see my interview on my channel with Mark Rogers today for Behind the Camera, it was great. Listen, it's not going to get a lot of views because those type of things don't get a lot of views. They're not about football. But I learned more about Mark Rogers today than I did over the past year and a half. I learned that in less than an hour today. And so if you're a fan of Mark Rogers, you're a fan of YouTubers in general, go check that out. You won't be disappointed, I promise. Other than that, I will see you guys on Monday. I have another guest that I think you all like scheduled for Monday for Behind the Camera. As long as it comes through, it's hard to schedule these people. But look forward to that. And everybody have a great and very safe weekend. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Pixie and Pete checking out.